Hey everybody, I'm Raymond from Boardgame Geek and Videogame Geek, also known as Sheng, and I've been nominated to become the Videogame Geek of the Week, so thanks a lot for that. And I got some questions in the mail by elclarkey, and well, I've written a 3-page essay, so I thought, I'll post it in the forum, but I'll also just tell you a bit about all of these questions live, because maybe that's more fun. So the first question was, what is the worst game you ever played and why? Well, honestly, I can't really remember. I must have played plenty of really bad games, and I think mostly on the Commodore 64, which was the first computer I ever owned, and I had plenty of games. They were on tapes, and you had to put them in a tape deck and fast forward them to the position where the game started, and run it was a hassle, but I loved it. I was a kid and that was all I had, so I loved it. And there was probably plenty of really bad, crappy stuff in there that just weren't really worth playing or were just really tough, and I probably just played them anyway. So I don't really remember, because later you get more choosy, and then you just pick the games that you really like and you play those and you leave the rest. So, I'm sorry, I don't really have a very clear answer for that one. The second question was, what is your favorite video game related memory? Well, it's kind of twofold. General video gaming memory is basically when I first got the Commodore 64. My dad bought one, and we had with the tape deck, and just the whole thing, the whole experience was great, and we used to copy cassettes from friends, and that's how you get games, because I didn't even know you could buy Commodore 64 games in the stores. I have never seen them in stores either. So that was a kind of a thing where you got together with friends and you copied tapes, and you had these, what you would call LAN parties now, only there was no LAN, there were just Commodore 64s. So that was fun, and you'd get tapes from friends and you'd copy them, and then later you'd have the Amiga 500, which I bought secondhand, and that had the small blue floppy disks, and well, that was so much better. That was just amazing. So we got really fond memories of that as well, with the great graphics, the great sound, and there were even demos just showing off the Amiga's possibilities with the visuals and the sound, and they were way ahead of their time, because they were a lot better than the PCs that were around at that same time. They had monochrome screens and CGA at best with a couple of colors, and that looked horrible, but you still played games on them. I mean, that was all you had. But the Amiga was just so much better, and you needed a sound card in your PC for decent sound, but not on the Amiga. The Amiga was just done. That was it, and it was great, and I had lots of games on that console as well. So that is also a very good memory that I had. And then after a while I got an actual PC, which was a very old beast, and well, you just played the basic games on that, the ones that you remember from your childhood, like Prince of Persia. And I've actually written down a whole list of games, which I'm not going to name all of them now, but you'll be able to read them in the comments. So there were plenty, and at some point they evolved, and you started with Commander Keen and Zool and Jill of the Jungle, stuff like that. And then 3D games like Tomb Raider and Carmageddon, which is an all-time favorite of mine. And there were adventures like Dave the Tentacle and Indiana Jones were great as well. And then it evolved into Wolfenstein, Doom, Descent. It got 3D in Quake. And well, it goes on from then, but at some point there was just so many games for the PC, and so there's lots of memories, but the early ones, those are the ones that stay with you, so that's great. But if I had to specifically choose a favorite video game related memory, then I would say playing Guild Wars, because at some point, well, Guild Wars was a new game. A friend of mine and me, we bought it, and we went online, and it was my first MMO, and I never played an MMO because I did not want to pay a monthly fee, because I didn't know if I was going to game that much. And if you didn't have time for the game in a month, you'd still have to pay the fee. So I wasn't into World of Warcraft and all of that stuff. So we bought Guild Wars, and it was just a one-time, you purchase the game, and that's it. And you can go online for as many times or as less times as you want. So we played, and we founded our own guild, the two of us. And we called it Limburgse Jagers, because we're from Limburg in the Netherlands, and Limburgse Jagers is actually a existing Dutch military, what do you call that, a regime? I don't know. So there, we had a cool name, and people joined. At first people from Limburg, because they recognized the name, but soon from all over the Netherlands and Belgium. And we had quite the guild, and it was fun. And we played this game for, I don't know, 7-8 years, a long time. And I've been the guild leader for most of that time, and I loved it. That was just a fantastic game. I still have fond memories of that. And I still play Guild Wars 2 on occasion, and the guild still exists as well. I've passed on the torch to another member, but that was just fantastic. Guild Wars was superb. So, third question. Favorite single video game memory? Oh, that's the one I just did from Guild Wars. No, the third question was, how long was your longest single video gaming playing session ever, and what games? That was a tough one, because I've probably binged a couple of games in my life, but something I really remember doing is when a friend of mine, he was the first one of our friends to have the Nintendo Entertainment System, but later he had the Super Nintendo, and that was fantastic. That had Super Mario World and Super Mario Kart, and many others like Street Fighter and stuff. But those two games, I loved that. I loved Super Mario already from the first games, but that was fantastic. I had summer vacation, and I would take my bicycle and cycle from Maastricht to IJsden, which is about 6 kilometers. It's not that far, but I'd go to him, and I'd be there in the morning, and we'd play video games all day, all day in his parents' house. And we'd be playing the Nintendo and the Super Nintendo, and later when he got his own his room and he went to study on university, and me as well, we'd still meet up in weekends, and I'd go to his place and we'd fire up the Nintendo and we'd just play Super Mario World all day, and that was just such great fun. And that must have been the longest game binging we did. I learned the entire game from him, all the secrets and all the bonus levels and everything. That was fantastic. So that was something that Super Mario and the Super Nintendo still have that special place in my heart. Alright, the fourth question. What is your current platform of choice? Well, it's the PC, because consoles are not very handy. You have to plug them in, you have to turn on your TV, turn on the console, you'd have to grab your controllers and then finally start playing, and the games were expensive, and well, just a PC is just so much easier. You can get everything digitally these days, and with Steam and all these game bundles coming out every week, you can get so many games for so little money that it's just, just so much easier. So PC really, and the quality is a lot better too. If you've got a good gaming rig with a nice video card in it, it beats even the best console. I mean, why bother spending that much money on a console if you can buy a new PC or build your own PC for the same price and have all the games you want for a lot less? So yeah, PC. Although I do still love the Super Nintendo and the Wii. And I also like the Wii U and the Switch, but I just haven't bought those because, they get outdated so fast. That's one of the the negative points about consoles as well, because they outdate very fast. Just these producers, these factories come out with new consoles every year, every 2 years. There's just no keeping up with that. So, okay, another question. What are you playing now, and what will you be playing next? Well, I'm playing Grand Theft Auto 5 at the moment. I love that. I love everything Grand Theft Auto. And I don't know what's next because that's going to take a while. And I've been playing Assassin's Creed 1, haven't finished it yet. I've been playing that for years, just off and on. Don't know why I never got around to finishing it. I've got Bioshock waiting for me for ages. And, well, for now, I've got some Skyrim stuff to do still, so that's something I want to finish as well. Okay, do you use cheat codes? Well, honestly, I used to, way back in the time when we had the PC with games like Prince of Persia and Doom and Commander Keen and what have you, and you just wanted to finish the game. And especially with games like Doom and Wolfenstein, I wasn't able to finish the game on my own, so I just wasn't good enough at gaming back then. So you used cheat codes, the ones everybody knew about. And on the Nintendo, you also had cheats with pressing, certain combinations of codes on your console, and you would have on your controller, and you'd have a cheat code. But nowadays, most games are rather well to play, rather easy. I wouldn't say easy, but I managed to play all the games that I like to play without cheating. So, and Steam has achievements which are fun, which make it more challenging. But if you don't reach them all because it's too hard, then I'll just forget about it, because it's no point cheating to get that achievement, because then it's not an achievement anymore. So these days, no, not anymore. That was back in the day. Do they even have cheat codes these days? I don't even know. All right, what is your favorite contribution of yours or of another user to Videogame Geek? Well, other users, that's a tough question, because there's just so much good stuff on Boardgame Geek, Videogame Geek, RPG Geek. But I'm quite proud to be hosting the Videogame Geek review, the monthly review contest, because that's nice. That's something that brings people to make reviews, and I hope to bring in more people to write more reviews, because last month we had 3 or 4 or 5 people participating. I hope that'll change one day. So that's fun. I've also made lots of micro badges for all the geek domains, but also for Videogame Geek, and I've posted some. I'll post some in the thread. So yeah, that's something that's fun as well. And then finally, my top 5 games of all time. Well, that was a tough one, because there's a lot of games that I really enjoyed. But my top 5 would be, in no particular order, Skyrim. Basically all the Elder Scrolls games, really. I started with Morrowind. Found that to be a bit fiddly with the interface. It was a tough game to play. I did use cheat codes for that one. I mean, that was probably the last game I cheated with, just to stay alive, because I was bad at it. But then came Oblivion, that was so much better, and I didn't need to cheat that one. I just played the hell out of it. And now Skyrim, and that is just such a great game. The graphics, the world is so huge. The sheer number of quests and side quests and all the stuff you can do blows my mind. That's just fantastic game, Skyrim. And then there's another game, is Carmageddon. Like I said, Carmageddon is an all-time favorite of mine, and the entire series was just great. I played the first one. Carmageddon, the first game, was the game that made me buy the first graphic card ever in my first PC, which was the 3DFX Monster 3D Voodoo graphics card. I'm sure some of you will remember that. And that just turned all those pixely graphics into glorious 3D, nicely rendered. Wow, that was just amazing. I played Carmageddon a lot with that, and then the Max Pack, which was an add-on. And then you had Tomb Raider, which looked so much better with that graphics card. Fantastic. So Carmageddon was fantastic. You could just drive around like crazy, and you could finish the race and win, and then that was it. But you could also demolish all your adversaries. It was just so much fun, crashing into the cars. But the game was on a timer, so you needed more time. And one of the ways to do that was to crash into your opponents, but also to run over pedestrians. And the game got a lot of controversy because of that. Because, you know, you're driving over pedestrians, you're killing people, oh boy. And it was banned in some countries, and in Germany they turned the pedestrians into zombies. And not in the Netherlands, long live the Netherlands, we just managed to keep that all legal and play that, and I loved it. It was just so crazy fun. Stainless games, I love them. And yeah, so the series was fantastic, and the latest one is Carmageddon Reincarnation, with a remake of that called Max Damage. Basically the same game with more levels, more cars. But Reincarnation was kickstarted in 2012, and that was the first game I kickstarted, and that was the game that got me onto Kickstarter. I never heard of that before. So even before board games, I backed Carmageddon Reincarnation, and I have not regretted it. They were super late with the development and with getting the game out, but they did, and I was so happy when I got it. I was so amazed. We played the beta, and then they optimized it, and it took a long time to load. People complained, and then they took the entire game and remade it into Max Damage. Basically the same game, like I said, but smoother and faster and more maps and more cars. So that is, at this moment, my favorite Carmageddon game. It took back all the old maps from the old game and just made them anew in glorious 3D, just fantastic. And it's just zany fun. I love it. Alright, so then number 3, or third game I mentioned, is the Grand Theft Auto series. Much because of the same thing. You're racing, it's an open world, there's pedestrians again, and it's just crazy fun. But Grand Theft Auto has one difference: it's just not about the racing, it's about the missions, the story. It has such a rich story. I played the first games, which was the top-down version of the game. That was fun, that was just crazy fun. Then there was Grand Theft Auto 2, which was more of the same. But then was Grand Theft Auto 3, and that was 3D, fantastic, loved it. And I played that to bits. I modded it with custom skins for a character, cars, etc. And then came, in my opinion, the most impactful, did you say that? The game of the GTA series, which was Vice City. It was Grand Theft Auto, it was the open world, which was even bigger, it was the same crazy fun, and it was set in the 80s. This was, you know, Vice City. It was Miami Vice. It was everything from the 80s, the movies from the 80s, the music from the 80s. It had such a great soundtrack. There were actual, real, existing music in that game, which before I think wasn't the case. They just made music for the game. But Vice City used existing 80s music, and I love 80s music. I'm a big movie nut and a music nut, but 80s music, oh, that game, I was in love. I played Vice City, I loved it, I still do. I wrote a review on it, and that is just super. Superb. If you haven't played Vice City yet, play it, please. Do yourself a favor. And then came San Andreas, which was also good. It was a lot bigger, which made it attractive. Wasn't necessarily better, but the graphics were better, and the world was bigger, and there was more to do, so I played that and I enjoyed the heck out of that as well. And then they had Grand Theft Auto 4, which I also completely played, all of it, and then the 2 expansions, which I also loved, the Lost and the Damned and the Ballad of Gay Tony, which I think was the best out of the 3. And I just recently finished that, and I loved it. And it also has great music, and it also has one radio channel with 80s music, so that was cool. And I'm currently playing Grand Theft Auto 5, like I said, and well, it's graphically and in size the best of the series. Not the most original one, but it's super. I love it, and I'm playing it, and yes, I will finish that one as well. It's gonna take some time, but I hope so, at least, because I just love the Grand Theft Auto series. I hope they keep making them for as long as they can. My 4th game is Super Mario World, which I already mentioned. We played for so many hours with a friend who had the Super Nintendo. In fact, when I was in university, I found a fellow student who was selling his Super Nintendo, and I bought it off of him, And it had Super Mario All-Stars, which is 1, 2, and 3, and Lost Levels. It had Super Mario World. It had Super Mario Kart. A couple of other games. So I got to play Super Mario again, and I played it again and again and again during my studies. And I loved it. I still have that. I'm never getting rid of that. So everything Super Mario I love. I loved Super Mario on the Nintendo 64, which also a friend of mine had, different friend, but played that Super Mario 64 a lot. And I have the handheld, the DSi XL and the new 3DS XL, and I played the Mario games on those as well. Even Super Princess Peach, which is a surprisingly good Mario game. And yeah, the Mario 3D Land. I wish I could play Mario 3D World, but I need the Wii U for that, so I sadly missed out on that. I missed out on the GameCube completely, so no Super Mario Sunshine or Luigi's Mansion. But, you know, everything Super Mario is fantastic, and I love them. And if I had to pick one with the best memories, it's Super Mario World on the SNES. And finally, the game Guild Wars 2, because I loved Guild Wars 1, played it for at least 7 years. The guild still exists, and we bought Guild Wars 2 as well. Even my wife plays it on occasion, so that's a rare thing. And we played Guild Wars 2 with the same people in the same guild, and it's just so big and graphically so beautiful. It's just so beautiful. You can walk around just admiring the landscape and the cities and everything and not do anything else and just have a good time. And it has great music and a cool soundtrack. It has many races to play, many classes to play, many skills to try out, monsters to defeat. There's just so much to explore. It's an MMO that will keep you busy for a long time, and so that was my 5th game in the list. So now you can get to choose in the poll which one is my absolute favorite if I had to choose only one to keep. So that's my entire story. So thank you very much for nominating me for Video Game Geek of the Week. Keep those questions coming. I'd love to answer all of your questions. So just keep on posting, and thanks again, and I'll see you on Video Game Geek.